Welcome into this carrier update. I'm Tony Mulvey, joined by Donny, Gilbert. Donny, real quick, we talked about ocean volumes yesterday, kind of picking back up a little. Still down, I guess, overall, but where does that ocean freight go once it hits the ports? If it's going to the West Coast, it's probably going on the rail, and what you see is it kind of did when we saw the peak. A few weeks later, you saw a peak in the rail volume.
So today we're going to ride the rail, but I want to put all this into perspective first. So the red line here are ocean volumes. Now, I'm kind of comparing apples to oranges here, but that's because we're looking at TE volume and rail volumes, they're measured differently. But what I want you to actually see are the peaks. So we see ocean volumes picking up, picking up, picking up, and right through here is their peak season.
Yeah, August through early October.
Yeah. Now, as you see this peaking out, you start seeing here in this September, you start seeing rail start to ramp up. This is that transfer of probably these goods coming in and starting to roll to rail. And you see rail pick up and peak here mid-October-ish, and then the volumes start dropping. So I want everybody to keep this picture in mind, just kind of to see, hey, ocean peak, then the rail starts to pick up. Now, truckload volumes, they compete a lot with rail. And a lot of that has to do with time sensitivity. One of the biggest ones. But, you know, a lot of people are scared to run their stuff on the rail. It may not be quite as secure. They believe that the rail is like driving down a bumpy road and their goods are going to be scattered all over the place, and it's not necessarily now. It used to be way back in the day. Yeah. But there's a lot of false rumors about the rail, and it keeps a lot of shippers from using the rail. And one of the biggest is time sensitivity. It takes a lot longer when it goes on the rail. Yeah. So truckload and rail kind of go together here as they start to peak when you start getting that, you know, October-ish, you know, November-ish area. So right now is that's what we should be seeing. Let's go to the next chart. Well, now I'm comparing OTVI, which is truckload volumes in yellow, comparing it to rail volumes, which are in blue. And as we build up and build up this year,
they break away from each other.
We saw quite different right here. Now, we talked about back in October, I said, Tony, you know, I feel that spot rates have just tanked on us about the middle of October. And they did. A lot of carriers are complaining. Now, these are contract volumes, but still, we saw a big drop here. But we saw rail volumes continue to climb. And then rail volumes started to peak over and come down, and we started to see a pickup here in truckload volumes. Well, look where we are in November. Yeah. We're already starting Black Friday.
Well, yeah, it's a week away at this point.
Well, the actual Black Friday. Yeah. But everybody else started around the 1st of November.
Exactly.
So time sensitivity could be picking back up here where they can't use the rail.
Well, yes, and the rails also, we talked about it, I mean, it's been a few months where they dropped their spot rates.
Go one forward first, we'll get to that. This is 2 years ago. This is rail volumes and truckload volumes, and you see how close they are. They're not exact, but overall, like I say, we're measuring them in different ways. You see the peak, and you see how it's kind of the same pattern here. This is the way it should be. Go back to where we were, and we see this. Now, what you're saying right now, you know what? We'll just go ahead and go a little bit early. Here we go. Since you're gonna bring it up, and we'll talk more about this in the next section, what you just said was we talked about back in August that the rail got extremely aggressive. Volumes were lacking, so they dropped their rates. And all it did was pull up 3 lanes. The blue one is LA to Chicago, the green is LA to Atlanta, and the red is LA to Dallas. And you see how they just dropped their rates in early August. Now, this was a little early. Yeah. This is not peak season.
Yes. The way the rails operate, they do since most of the freight is under contract, I mean, you're talking over, 95% or more, they drop spot rates when they have excess capacity and just need volume. They prop them back up when they have the volume because they protect the capacity for their contracted shippers. That's effectively what they did, because what we were looking at is that contracted rail volume that's moving. And when that crept back up and started to grow, you saw you don't have the need to try to go out and grow volumes. They were trying to grow volumes in a period where volumes weren't.
But as you also said, this is the peak. I said this is the peak time. How much is it costing to add a few more cars, et cetera? So when we come back, we'll look at what you're talking about. We'll look at volumes on the rail versus these rates that happened right here.
Awesome stuff as always, Donnie. Thank you for this update. Right now, we'll hand it back over to Kaylee next.